You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the April 14th meeting of the Michigan City Redevelopment Commission. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Michigan City Redevelopment Commission regular meeting. Today is Monday, April the 14th of 2025, and we are starting at 5 p.m. And we'll go ahead and we welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'd like to start off with attendance. Our attendance. Tom Dubkowski.
Present.
Sheila Mateas. She's absent, sorry. Philip Latchford is absent. Tracy Tillman?
Present.
Sheree Wilson, present. And Clarence Halsey?
Present.
Okay, we do have a quorum. Thank you. Next on our agenda is the approval of the minutes for 3/10/25 for our executive session, as well as for 3/10/25, our regular hybrid meeting. Do I have a motion to accept the meeting minutes as presented?
Motion to accept the minutes, March 10, 2025 executive session and March 10, 2025 regular hybrid meeting.
Second.
Okay, I'd like to call for a roll vote. Go by their names, right? Okay. Clarence Halsey?
Aye.
Tracy Tillman?
Aye.
Sheree Wilson, aye. It passes. Okay, thank you. Presenting of the claims.
Yes, these are the claims for as of April 14th, 2025. For payroll, in March 2025, we had CDBG reimbursables, staff and commissioners. From our operating account, we have Great American Financial for copier fees for March 2025. We also had Great American Financial copier fees for April 2025 and Saranac Law Offices for legal retainer for March 2025. In the North TIF, we had August Mac for 2023 activities, Trail Creek Properties, Begley Concord. This is basically the Trail Creek cleanup from 1/6/2025 to 2/2/2025. We also had August Mac for Trail Creek SMP, which is 1/14/2025 to 2/16/2025. We had August Mac for 2023 activities, Trail Creek Properties, Begley Concord, 2/3/2025 through 3/2/2025. We also had August Mac for Trail Creek SMP for 2/17/2025 through 3/16/2025. Barnes and Thornburg for legal services for Bloxham ending in 2/28/2025. Barnes and Thornburg for legal services Sola ending 2/28/2025. Barnes and Thornburg for legal services for Tryon Meadow ending 2/28/2025. Butler, Farman, and Seifert for engineering services for Washington Park Boulevard for 12/1/2024 through 2/28/2025. Global Engineering for survey work at Waste Inc. Site 9/5/2024 through 3/30/2025. MC Economic Development Corporation for consulting services for projects in the TIF, in the North TIF. This is our annual contract for 2025. NIPSCO for electric services for EV stations, 8th Street as of 4/1/2025. And Saranac Law Offices for legal services in the North TIF for March 2025. The Chicago Consultants for consulting at 5th and Pine Street Development 3/1/2025 through 3/31/2025. Wallach, Summers, and Haas for legal services for the Transit Center 2/5/2025. Wallach, Summers, and Haas for legal services for the You Are Beautiful at 7/2/7/2025 through 2/28/2025. Wallach, Summers, and Haas for legal services You Are Beautiful for 3/5/2025 through 3/31/2025. In the South TIF, we had Global Engineering for the I-94/421 overpass for the annual inspections report to IDEM. Sorry, it's not IDEM. It should be NDOT. Make that correction. And we we had MC Economic Development Corporation. This is also for RC projects. This was a quarter out of the South TIF for the annual contract 2025. And actually, I meant to say that the one above that I read for the North TIF was a quarter from the North TIF. From the East TIF, we had MC Economic Development Corporation for consulting services. This is another quarter from the East TIF for a 2025 contract. And from the Northeast TIF, we had MC Economic Development Corporation for consulting services and projects from the annual contract. And this is the other quarter from the Northeast TIF. From our 2023 mixed-use transit project bond, we had Flaherty and Collins for disbursement request number 16 from construction account.
Thank you, Skylar. Do we have a motion to accept the claims as presented?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the claims for April 14, 2025 as presented.
I'd like to second that.
Second.
Okay. We have to do a roll call, right, on this one? Okay.
Yeah.
Tracy?
Aye.
Sheree Wilson, aye. Clarence?
Aye.
It has passed. Thank you. Next item on our list is the presentation of our financial report.
This is a balance sheet for as of February 28th, 2025. In our cash, we have operating account. We have $373,819.10. In our South Side TIF account, we have $8,472,000. I'm sorry, for $8,472,160.19. In our South Side TIF debt reserve account, we have $336,308.50. In our Southside TIF capital account, we have $16,199.79. In our North End TIF account, we have $3,256,440.26. In our East Side TIF, we have $680,198.40. In our Northeast TIF account, we have $1,230,625.11. In our loans receivable, our county business loan fund, we have $94,829.59 for a total assets of $14,460,580.94. Yes.
Thank you, Skylar, for making that presentation. Do I have a motion to accept our financial report as presented tonight? For
Motion
February.
to accept as presented.
Support.
Okay, I'll take a roll. Tracy Tillman,
Aye.
Sheree Wilson, aye. Clarence?
Aye.
Thank you. It has passed. Thank you. Okay, I would like to open up the floor for public comments. Would anyone like to come up and speak at this time? Okay. Moving on. Tonight we have a couple of facade grants to go over, and I will let Skylar present, and then we'll take and proceed as needed.
Thank you. Actually, this time we have quite a few facade grants that are coming up. We have a new one and a couple of reimbursements. So I'm going to handle the new one first. Miss Diana Scott is here tonight. Diana, can you come up here for just a minute? I don't want to put you on the spot, but just in case there's questions.
Welcome, Diane. Bye.
Diana, tell us a little bit about your business. First of all, your name and address, and tell us a little bit about your business.
Diana Smith Scott, 912 Franklin Street. I bought the building 3 years ago and been renovating a 100-year-old building.
How long have you been in business here in Michigan City?
This June will be 40 years.
Thank you. Thank you. This building is located at 912 Franklin Street. It is in the historic district, and she has been in contact with our historic district. She has went through the process. She has yet to receive her letter of basically the decision letter that they send out. They are in the process of revamping the historic Preservation Commission, right? They're talking right now. They're actually in the room next door to us. But I'm sure you will get that letter soon. So any decision that we do make tonight, if we could just make a contingent upon her receiving that I think she's already filed her COA and received permission to do it. She's just waiting on the actual decision
Yeah, I
letter
got a
from-
verbal.
Yeah, she has it. She's just waiting on the letter, the official letter they send out. So that being said, Ms. Scott did a lot of due diligence, probably more so than most. She got, I think, 4 bids for all her glass or all her glazing in here. She actually is going to be doing the top facade of the building too, outside the glazing. She got some bids on that, and she got bids on all her awnings as well. I think she got 3 bids on the awnings. She has chosen to go with the people she's most comfortable with, and the total of that work is $52,754.10. Which basically 60% of that would be $31,652. So she qualifies for the full facade. She is eligible for the full 30,000 of the facade grant if you if you so should like to grant that to her. And I would say that she's done all of her diligence that was required of her to get the bids. And she's also been just a really good community member, and I've known her personally for quite a while. And she runs a good business, and as always, just keeps a really nice building, I should say.
Thank you.
So I have a motion to accept the facade grant for the amount of 30,000 for 912 Franklin Street.
I'd like to make a motion to request for the fundings for the Franklin Street Lakefront Salon and Spa for $30,000 contingent to the historic documents that you're waiting to receive.
Teresa, I forgot that.
Second.
Okay, we'll take a roll call. Tracy,
Aye.
Sheree, aye. Clarence,
Aye.
thank you, Diane.
Thank you, Diana, for all the business you do, and thanks for keeping your business in Michigan City.
Okay,
Okay.
Skylar, go ahede with the next
Yeah,
one.
our next one is, give me a second. If it's okay with you, could I move 1901 up and save Woodlawn for the end? Because it'll be a little bit longer, if you don't mind. Would that
I
be
don't mind
okay
it.
with the president? Okay. So let's do 1901 Franklin Street. I see them here. That is the cellar door. They were granted originally. They were granted the full $30,000 for their project. We did a half distribution of 15,000 to them. They're before us tonight. And if you guys want to come up here, I'm going to get you up here. So they're before us tonight requesting the final payment of 15,000 to them for basically completion of the exterior work. You tell us a little bit how it's going.
Yeah,
Introduce yourselves and tell us how it's going.
absolutely. Thanks. Kyle Hutchison and Spencer Herms. Yep. And yeah, the cellar door is going well. We are almost underway here, getting ready to open, dealing with a last minute issue, of course. What else is new? With starting a business in a 150-year-old building. But yeah, everything's been great. Working with you all has been amazing, and we love being a part of the community here in Michigan City. And we're looking forward to having a glass of wine and a cocktail with all of you here later this spring.
Excellent. So this is what's before you today. They've turned in all their documents to me. I have them in my possession. I reviewed them. Everything's been paid. There's no mechanical liens or anything like that on their building. Yeah, so I think tonight you're free to, if you so choose, to basically make the final reimbursement for $15,000 to Looking Glass Investment LLC, aka the cellar door.
Do I have a motion to do the reimbursement for 15,000 to Looking Glass LLC?
I'd like to make a motion for the reimbursement for the completions to the cellar door in the amount of $15,000.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, congratulations.
Great,
Thank you for putting so much
We'll
work
see you
into our
soon.
community.
Take care. My next one is 722 and through 724 Washington Street. This is Washington Street Ltd. Limited. This was basically to cover a window replacement by Anderson's, and this guy did do all the work he needed to do. He had 16 windows to replace in his building in the historic district. He got everything approved. And we good?
Oh, I was just
Oh.
checking on the rules.
Okay. Just making sure. We granted, this was a total project of $68,723. And for that, we gave, a facade grant we granted him the full, $30,000 for his, 16 windows and the preservation of some of the big windows that are in this building. He did go through all the proper process, historic review board, certificate of appropriateness, et cetera, et cetera. And this is he's basically just requesting his, money. He did provide all of the no mechanic liens that he paid he paid the contractors, all those things to me. I have it all in my possession. I think you're free to reimburse the money if you so choose.
Do I have a motion to reimburse for $30,000 for the renovation of the facade at 722 and 724 Washington Street, Michigan City?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the reimbursement of $30,000 to 722 through 724 Washington Street Ltd.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. So thanks for bearing with me. This one actually, the last one is going to be 312 East 8th Street, Woodlawn Holdings 0 LLC. And the reason I saved this one too is it actually has another component to it, which is actually an upper story residential, which we haven't done in a minute. So this was granted. And I just say Anthony, Mr. Attorney Novak in the back. Anthony, can you come on up? Because give us some, I might need help filling in the timeline. I probably do. Trust me, it's been a long day. This involves originally, this project started 2 years ago.
Started in 21, started 4 years ago.
Okay. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Anthony Novak. I'm an attorney with Newby, Lewis, Kaminsky and Jones in LaPorte. And I'll give a little bit of background. So my clients, Woodlawn Holdings, purchased this property in 2021. One of the owners, Nick Lamaglio, is online, just in case there's any specific questions. They bought the property for $476,000. This used to be Michigan City's original public library. It was built in 1897. Two very famous names that contributed money. George Ames and John H. Barker. And that was the Michigan City's library for 80 years until 1977 at its current location. And do you want me to just keep going?
Yeah, you're doing a great job.
All right.
Absolutely.
So basically the plan all along was to convert this into 5 residential units. And in 2021, an application was filed and ultimately approved for the full $15,000 per unit on the upper story, so $75,000, and then for 60% of the qualifying cost on the facade. At that time, the qualifying cost was roughly $34,000 for the roof, 21-ish thousand of which was approved. Subsequent to that, there were delays. We were in the midst of the pandemic. In 2022, we came back before you or the previous commission to ask for an extension, which was granted to September of 2022. Further issues happened. They learned they had to put in a full fire suppression system, and they ultimately figured, and the biggest issue ended up being that given the historic nature of the property, that they had to either put in a full slate roof or a synthetic slate roof. That they did to the tune of roughly $114,000. So they're here before you tonight after completing all the work, asking for each of the 5 eligible units for the upper story. So that's $15,000 each, or $75,000. And then the maximum permitted under the facade grant, which is $30,000, because 60% of 114 is significantly higher. So that's where they are. Significant delays, but they finally got it done. They have 2 units rented out. They're hoping to get another 2 done at the end of this month, and that's where they are. So it's a beautiful development, and they're finally back in front of you with good news that it's done.
Great job.
Thank you.
Great project.
And great presentation.
Thank you.
What's your Why this is even before you though, is because according to the program rules, they have to get it done within a certain time frame. As Anthony said, they also asked for one additional, or one previous extension, which was granted. And now here we are again, well past the deadline for the, as described in the program rules. However, I think you look at what the program rules are for. The program rules are so that people get this approval and they don't do anything. And clearly that has not been the case here. And so what we have from the original request is a project that has probably exceeded what the original request was because of the additional requirement from the Historic Review Board. So you're not necessarily approving an exception to what the rules are, but the justification would be that the delays were beyond the control of the property owner, and the finished product is exactly, no, it's not exactly, it's beyond exactly what they said they wanted to do. So I think that serves as your justification, should you be inclined to approve it.
Yeah, if I may just add that there was more process that went into this even prior to even getting before this commission. This had a rezoning associated with it. It went to council. Before the council, they granted a rezoning because they saw the benefit of having this back into use. It had set kind of fallow for a little while. So this is a much better use. It's actually getting people in it, which old buildings need people in them. That's how they survive. They get taken care of, things of that nature. So rather than losing our historic library to disrepair, it's nice to see it back into production and paying taxes, just being honest. And this is a TIF producing, it's in the TIF. It produces taxes for the TIF. It is a tax commercially as a 5-unit building. So it's not a single family house. It is something we do draw a TIF off of. Just FYI. Any questions? We do have the owner, Nicholas Lamaglio on there if you have any other questions.
Thank you, everyone, for the consideration. And Skylar, thank you for bumping me to the end of the agenda. I love extra time.
Very
watching
welcome.
action.
No, it's fine. Hey, Nick, could I ask just one question? You don't have to give me a specific number. Can you give us just a ballpark of renovation? Not to put you on the spot. Just curiosity.
8 million.
Okay.
That's a major investment in our community. Thank you.
Right
Do we
above budget.
Yeah, you've done a beautiful job, by the way.
Thank you very much. Yes, we value the history of Michigan City above all else and want to maintain the original integrity while implementing a plan that keeps it sustainable well after we're all gone. So that building is not going anywhere. Indiana limestone. The internal walls are about 13, 14 inches thick of solid concrete, which was a major delay. Our plumbers didn't realize how much they had to core through to get the chute and everything kind of piped in there. So yeah, the delay was a very unique project with not a lot of precedent for a lot of our subcontractors. And we went through some fits and starts with it, but we never really stopped or lost focus of the end goal. And here we are today in 2025, watching tenants move to Michigan City. One tenant's from Valparaiso. Another one was from Hammond, Indiana. We have another one from Milwaukee looking to move in there. And then there's 2 more tenants potentially in the works for the remaining units. They're coming from outside.
Awesome. Do we have a motion to pay the reimbursement as presented for 312 East 8th Street? And that should be in a total of 105,000?
I think you are correct for the total. Well,
You
also,
want to probably break them up 75 and
Oh, yeah.
just since they're different programs.
Alan, do we need to take a separate vote to add the 30,000 rather than the 20? Is that something different, or do we just approve 30,000?
From whatever's in the upper story, you have to approve that, and then what's in the facade, you have to approve that.
Okay, so
Two separate
Okay.
votes.
okay,
Okay.
fair enough. I'm good.
Okay, we'll do facade first. Do I have a motion to reimburse the Woodland Holdings for the renovations at 312 East 8th Street for facade in the amount of $30,000?
So moved.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So the facade component is complete. For the upper story grant, do we have a motion to approve 75,000 in reimbursements for 312 East 8th Street held by Woodlawn Holdings?
So moved.
Support.
All of us say aye in favor?
Aye.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
council.
Good project.
Thank you for investing.
you,
in the
Clarence.
city. Thank you.
Clarence, and I also want to say thank you. Again, this goes back to what I always talk about is how Michigan City is a true partner to the investors and, you know, kind of little guys like us coming in. Clarence, you've sent us 2 tenants, and I think both of them are going to work out. So I appreciate you thinking of us as, you know, people are looking for lodging in Michigan City. Thank you for being a great partner. And Anthony's an incredible attorney, in case anybody's listening.
yes.
It'll cost you.
Plug. Man, what a plug. Yeah, shameless. No, just messing with
Well, Nick, you had us on everything except for that last.
Yeah. Lost your credibility, man.
Before you go, Anthony, if I could
Yeah.
just ask you, where are your clients, Burnham Brewery, where are we at in terms of paving the driveway?
I can tell you that we have a proposal for for paving from aren't asphalt ceiling. They have that quote in. They're waiting on another quote, which they expect this week. They'll obviously compare those two, and then the plan is to execute one of them. So that's where they are currently.
Thank you for the update.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you.
Okay, I'll let
We are done with all of our grant, all of the upper story and facades. Make sure I didn't forget anybody, you know. Yeah, I got them all. Sorry, there's quite a few.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is the declaratory resolution 2-25 Tryon Meadows Economic Development Area.
I have John Kopchak here tonight. He is the developer of record that we've been working with. You may recall that he's been before us before and talked about Tryon Meadows and what the intent of the project is. I would lay out that he has been through Plan Commission. I'm not going to steal the thunder from him. I'll let him show you what he's got. He has been to Planning Commission and asked for the rezoning. The rezoning is before the council tomorrow night. At least the first reading of that is before the council tomorrow night. He did receive a unanimous favorable recommendation to the council for the rezoning and the primary plat. And then what we're doing tonight, and I know Mr. Randolph from POLA is online as well, is we're doing a declaratory resolution. Randy, before we go into that, I'm going to have John just kind of talk about the project and the rezoning and phasing, et cetera, just in a nutshell.
Yeah, thank you, Skylar, for that intro, and great to be here again in front of you all. Thanks for the opportunity. I will agree with the previous applicant that the city has been a true partner throughout the process, and all of our timelines so far have been on schedule or even ahead of schedule. So I appreciate that. You know, as Skylar mentioned, our approval for the rezoning and primary plat did get unanimous approval a couple weeks ago at the Planning Commission. You know, we're very excited about the project. We did get the economic development agreement approved in front of you all, as you remember, a few months ago as well. So we're just basically going, you know, through the regular timelines and hurdles and you know, checking the boxes on what we need to do to establish the TIF areas and so on. I did, you know, give you guys the copies of the phasing plan and the primary plat that were presented in front of that Planning Commission vote a few weeks back. So happy to answer any questions on that, but the unit count has basically stayed the same. And we're phasing the project into 3 phases, and with the apartments on the northwest corner and southeast corner, and single family homes and townhomes in the middle. Yeah, happy to answer any questions.
John, have y'all taken down the property it belongs to you?
Yes, we definitely like to show that we're fully committed to the project, and we have the property firmly under our control, 100% under our control.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
What's the timeline for construction? Everything goes according to plan. What's there?
To be honest with you, as fast as the city can move with all approvals, we're ready to go on our end. You know, we received bids from all of our companies that we deal with and our current subs that we deal with. I think ideally we'd like to start site work midsummer if we can, some of like the grading work and things like that. And then the plan would be to do substantial site work this fall and into the winter, and then utilities in Q1 of next year, and go vertical in Q2 of next year. But we're broadly on track with the timeline.
Can you give us a magnitude of the total project cost?
Sure. Right now, including the infrastructure costs and land, we're at about 51 million for the total cost of the project. So it's not a small project. Phasing it definitely helps, but it will be a substantial addition to the local economy from property taxes, from the multiplier effect on local economic activity. Usually there's a 2 or 3x at least multiplier effect on the level of property taxes in terms of consumption in the local economy. So this will definitely add millions of dollars to the local economy.
Thank you. I was going to see if there's any more questions from the council, then go to Randy. I'm sorry, from the commission, not council. I apologize, commission.
Oh, okay. Can you tell us a little bit about, because I actually find this very unique from my perspective, the fact that your phase 1, I notice, is like twice the size of your phase 2 and 3 almost.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Yeah, I think, we like to start strong because there's economies of scale with putting in a lot of the infrastructure up front. It helps the project stay, be efficient both from a cost perspective and also from being able to service a lot of different customer bases. So as you can see in phase 1, we have pretty much all the unit types, which is again something that I think is unique for Michigan City. In terms of townhomes, single-family homes, multifamily. So it allows us to basically get economies of scale with infrastructure costs and cater to a wide variety of clients. We also saved the phase 3, as you can see, for the apartments on Tryon Road because we don't want to cause unnecessary kind of traffic or blocking near the road. We want to go backwards and then forwards, if you will.
Mhm.
So we've been pretty thoughtful about our phasing, and I've already had pretty advanced discussions with like the water department on all this phasing. They're aware of it. That I've tried to do as much work behind the scenes as possible to get all the ducks in a row, and everyone's been really great to work with in terms of being on time, all the city departments.
Any other questions?
Tracy, you got anything? Okay. John, the only other thing I would like to bring up is talk to us about the in our agreement, in our EDA, we talked about holding 75% of units at AMI. Will you speak to us just a little bit about the AMI, what that means, and from the terms of just tell us a little bit about that. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, in every project we do, we try to really solve for product market fit and velocity, and I think they both work pretty well together in this development because we believe that we can hit those 80 to 120% AMI targets for 3/4 of development, while also meeting the needs of the unit counts in this plan. So we're not here to sell a lot of luxury homes. This is a naturally affordable workforce housing type of development that will cater to the needs of the city at scale, and hopefully will deliver a strong economic impact at scale as well. So to determine this, we put in the adequate amount of density to ensure a high velocity at appropriate AMI levels. So we believe that this plan will really create hopefully hit the ball out of the park in terms of moving the needle on workforce housing.
And with that, I would just say that that's the reason why he's before us today, is to create the housing TIF, which would then help, which will pay for the infrastructure, which then there in turn basically buys down the cost of, it's not pushed along, if you will. It's this TIF would pay for that essentially.
Yeah, and our success is measured by how quickly we build, since we're taking on all the risk.
Correct. With that, I want to go to Mr. Randolph Rampola to tell us a little bit about what we're doing tonight and maybe talk about risk to the city, et cetera. Randy, good. Thank you for being with us.
Oh, sure. Thank you for allowing me to join via Zoom. I had another meeting conflict. What is before you is the declaratory resolution, the form of which was prepared by the developer's attorney. And what it does do is create the new economic development area, and it provides for 3 separate allocation areas. And the 3 separate allocation areas, 2 of them are commercial and 1 is residential. And these relate to the phasing of the development. It's expected that, as I understand it, and the developer can correct me, but the commercial development will occur in 2 phases and the residential will be a separate phase. And so the intent of this is to be able to capture the tax increment from each of these phases and apply them to proceeds of series of bonds that would be issued and sold to the developer, to the developer's bank. And that's why in the declaratory resolution, there are 3 allocation areas being established, 2 commercial, 1 residential. So the TIF that would be collected for the commercial would be collected for a period not to exceed 25 years, which is provided for by the statute. And with respect to the residential, it's at 20 years, which again is what is provided for by the statute. The resolution also provides for, approves a form of development plan, and it has in it kind of the typical things you would expect to see as far as what the intended uses of the TIF would be, including paying debt service on economic development revenue bonds. The whole point of this is to provide the base mechanism for the cash flow that would be used to pay bonds that ultimately would be issued, and part of the calendar would be to go before the city council and have the council adopt a bond ordinance authorizing the economic development revenue bonds in 1 or more series, and here likely 3 series. The benefit is then the developer has access then to the TIF revenues, because it would be those TIF revenues that will pay the debt service on those bonds. From the city's perspective, from the Redevelopment Commission's perspective, what you're doing today is setting aside the TIF revenues from these areas to provide the economic incentive to the developer as part of the incentive package to entice him to locate and develop this project in Michigan City. From the city and commission's perspective, there's no risk in the sense that in the event that the TIF revenues are not collected as anticipated, and you have Baker Tilly working with the developer to come up with the TIF cash flow structure to provide for the series of bonds. If for some reason those TIF revenues don't end up being as is intended when the bonds are issued, there's no other source of revenue that would be pledged to the payment of these bonds. So it could happen from 3 circumstances. 1, the assessments don't quite come in the way they're anticipated, but I know there have been discussions with the assessor and certainly from the developer side as well as from the Baker Tilly side. So I think everybody is reasonably confident that the assessments will come in as anticipated. Another option would be the project isn't built exactly as is anticipated. That sometimes happens as things go along. The third would be I'm just going to say it. I don't know. No ill will to the developer, but there's always developments that don't succeed. And if the developer didn't pay its taxes on these projects, then there would be no TIF revenues, and therefore the city and the Redevelopment Commission wouldn't be obligated to pay on the bonds. That usually doesn't happen, but there are those projects out there in the ether that sometimes it could happen. And I say that only in the sense that sometimes people ask the question, and we'll say this again at different meetings, but in the event that the bonds go unpaid, what effect does that have on the credit rating of the city? And the answer is absolutely none, because you aren't pledging the full faith and credit of the city or the full faith and credit of the redevelopment district. All that would be pledged for those bonds would be the TIF revenues themselves. That's getting way into the weeds, but I just wanted to say that so that when further approvals down the road come before you and they come before the council, you may recall these discussions here. all you're doing tonight is adopting the declaratory resolution to start the process to approve of the 3 allocation areas being established and the EDA, the Tryon Meadows EDA being established. But it would lead up to and conclude with bonds being issued by the city payable from TIF revenues that would be generated from these areas. With that, I'll stop talking and answer any questions.
That was a great explanation. And we still have process to go after tonight. We would go to plan commission to council, council back to us for what is it called? Not declaratory, it's a
Confirming resolution.
confirmatory resolution. Any questions of Randy? Any questions of Randy? Okay,
No, thanks.
I'm good.
thank you, Randy.
Okay, thanks.
Any further questions of Mr. Kopchak? Oh, we got him here.
Great job, John, and looking forward to the development. Looking forward to you guys breaking ground soon.
Yeah, we're excited. I can't wait.
Just on another note, he has went through all the various departments for approval. He's worked numerous hours with our sanitary district, water department, our city engineer for the road sizes. I mean, this has been many months in the making. It's not something that we're just bringing haphazardly to the council or to the redevelopment commission. It has been through a lot of process.
The gray circles under my eyes are the result of that.
I think you guys have to do a formal adoption of the resolution, or formal approval of the resolution. This would send it to the plan commission, basically.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adopt the declaratory resolution 2-25 Tryon Meadows Economic Development Area?
So moved.
Support.
All of us in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah. Too long.
Okay, our next item. Would you like to? Okay, go ahead.
Bring it up. Our next item is something that me and I would say are I won't put it back on the console. It's on me. We were reading through and I made an oversight at our last agenda where that we approved CCS, who is our consultants for Fifth and Pine. They're the ones who are taking us through the full extent, getting us to the economic development agreement, which right now we're in a terms negotiation. We'll go into an MOU next, and then we'll go into an economic development agreement, which will solidify all of the other 2 things I just mentioned and bring it all together and have commitments on our side and on their side. So to get us to that, CCS, Chicago Consulting Studios, presented a budget to us for what I thought was $60,000, and I overly I didn't see the additional, because it was split into a part 1 and a part 2. I did not see the additional $46,600 as I was going through my ledger or our ledger for what we're paying them. We ran out of money, and I'm like, why are we out of money? There's no way we should be out of money at this time. So this is where the discrepancy was, and I did call them and confirm this. So it should have been, we approved $60,000. It should have been an additional $46,600. That would get us through June, I think into July. And hopefully by then, our timeline right now is the end of June to get to the economic development agreement. So I think this gets us through to the end of June. So I apologize. I'll take the blame for that one. I just overlooked it. I didn't realize it was in 2 parts.
For mortals. Do I have a motion to approve the additional 46,600 from the Chicago Consultant Studios Amendment 1 for Fifth and Pine Street Development?
So moved.
Get.
Okay, all of us in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Okay, moving right along, our next item, can I go ahead and sit on that?
Alan, can you tell us a little bit about I can speak to why we need to do this, but would you tell us like just,
Clarence can tell us why we
Yeah.
do this, yeah. Back in November of 2023, the commission approved an agreement with the Economic Development Corporation of Michigan City for consulting services for a total cost of $75,000 a year for the up to 2026. And it was to originally be done in two payments of $37,500 in April and October of the calendar year. And then Clarence, you can explain why the request is made to, instead of having two separate payments, then we want to have one annual payment.
It's mainly for budgeting purposes. When we get the money up front, we tend to be able to plan for the rest of the year as opposed to come back 2 or 3 times. So it's more of a budgeting on our budget, but the amount doesn't change.
Okay. And so the question comes up, so based on that request, I drafted up an addendum to the original agreement. Does not change the dollar amount, only changes the manner in which payments are made. Effective next month if you approve this. Now, given the fact that we only have 3 commissioners here tonight, which is enough for a quorum, and Clarence obviously has to abstain from voting, given his appearance of a personal conflict, the question comes up is, can the commission approve this tonight? And the answer in Robert's Rules of Order is yes, you can, because we're not talking about more money. So as long as Sheree and Tracy approve this, then that can happen. If you'd rather have the full commission here, you can do that. Whatever your pleasure is, or you can just flat out reject it and say, Clarence, no, it's going to stick to the original terms. But so whatever your pleasure is, but you can go forth with approving this if you want to.
I'm actually going to make the motion to amend the contract with the MCEDC, changing to an annual payments instead of a biannual payments. Do I have a second?
Yes.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed?
I have to abstain.
Okay, we have amended that is annual instead of biannual. Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, next up is the discussion of the Riverfront District expansion.
Yeah, so
Excited about that.
let me I'll start that discussion and then I'm gonna have Alan jump in on it. You may recall we had some community members come before us last time and state that they were interested in seeing this expanded, and so we went. So first of all, let me back up. We have a municipal liquor license here in Michigan City. It's called the Riverfront Municipal Liquor License. It is the license that the Redevelopment Commission has the purview to grant, and it is outside the realm of a quoted liquor license. Liquor licenses in the state of Indiana are granted for every 2,500 people in a community. That's your quoted liquor licenses. These are outside that quoted liquor license rule. But there are rules that go along with it. And those rules are that you have to be inside a redevelopment area or an economic development area or a declared, there's a few different areas you have to be into. But one of the main rules is that you have to be within 3,000 feet of the center line of the river, or in our case, Trail Creek, which is actually a navigable river. So we have that defined, but what we did years ago is we took it one step further and we said, and you also have to be inside this boundary, another kind of an arbitrary boundary that we kind of chose. Within doing that, the city has changed a lot in those years. We didn't have a downtown train station. We had the idea of a downtown train station. We also didn't know the impact that the train station would, I think, make in the middle of 11th Street and really in the middle of our downtown. And I think people kind of overlooked the Midtown area, which is where you might recall, for those in the audience, like where the Moose Lodge is, where the Harmony Bar is. That's kind of what we colloquially know as Midtown or Mid-City. I hear it called different things. The St. Joe Club is there. There's lots of great organizations and great buildings there, in my opinion. Now we're seeing investments in that area, and there's investments. We never saw things like that. The properties kind of move in that area. It was kind of, I don't want to say stagnant, but still for a minute. And now with the train station, I think that's kind of the bowling ball in the middle. Someone dropped it in the pond, and now the ripples are coming out all around it. And with that being said, 3,000 feet actually does go further than the line that we drew on the map. So um, I think it's time to kind of consider what we've done and really think about that logically and consider the impacts of the train station. We have a $101 million building going in the middle of kind of the downtown area. And the impacts of that on the land and the buildings that are down there, we're seeing that now. We have facades that are all the way down to Barker Avenue right now. We've never seen a facade down there. You're seeing facade grants down there, you know, so it's having that effect. It's rippling. So that's kind of what I wanted to have that discussion. And we needed to go back and kind of look at the law. Laws change. We needed to make sure that the law was still applicable, that it was still that we're not changing something and not knowing why we were changing it, or making sure we're not making a mistake in changing it. So that's kind of why I'm here tonight, is to say we have put together a resolution, but we really wanted some input and to have a discussion about it, because some of the other things that we are going to do, and we will be going to council, and the resolution kind of talks about this, is that we had always talked about in our old liquor license laws or rules that we would establish a downtown dining district account. I don't really care what it's called, but I think we should establish that account, because now I think we have an expanded downtown, in my opinion, and an expanded area. This account would be where the liquor licenses would pay into that account, and we would use that as kind of a promotional. It would go to the city to be used for promotional aspects. I don't think we want to be in charge of that. Our job as the commission would be to make sure that you pay the money every year. But I don't think we want to be the ones who are hearing, are we buying billboards on I-94? I don't think that's really our position as redevelopment commission members. We would just establish the fund and ask the council to establish that fund. And anyone that receives our liquor licenses for the municipal riverfront would pay an annual fee of $2,400 into that. It really is a privilege to have one of these liquor licenses. There are still other rules. The 3,000 feet is probably the one that's really a qualifier, but also it has to be kid friendly. Can't be 21 and over. It has to be a true restaurant. I can't remember some of the other rules. Alan, correct me if I'm wrong. Kid friendly, open 360 days a year, 320 days a year. So there's other rules. It has to be zoned appropriately. There are other things that kind of come into play with this that we review. One of the other things we want to do in this liquor license is we want to have, with the revamp, is we want to have a revocation clause, which we really don't have in the existing rules. Revocation means, how do you take away a liquor license? If you don't pay your fee, we have the right to take away your liquor license. If you're not in good standing with the alcohol, tobacco, we could take away your liquor license. If you don't pay your permits or don't get permits for your building when you develop, we can, you're subject to either revocation or we won't grant it, type things like that. That's what a revocation would be. So it's just basically tightening up those rules a little bit to make sure that we're being fair, but also make sure that that we are getting a benefit out of granting them, because they are a privilege. We do want them to be used. We want to generate sales tax. We want to generate people coming into our downtown. We want them to be used. So, sorry, that was a lot. Mouthful. Questions, thoughts, comments. I'm really just opening it up for a discussion. We have a resolution prepared, but I want to make sure that I publicly get everything out there that we want.
I'll get started. For me, I guess it's a great idea. One of the things we're trying to establish here, is to have a foodie district in Michigan City, and so I think downtown, Midtown would be an area to do that. My biggest concern would be I don't want to overflood the market with 5 Italian restaurants downtown. So I think we need to have some kind of rule where the restaurants got to be different. I mean, let's say you establish no more than 2 in Midtown, no more than 2 of the same type in Uptown, but also restaurants got to provide an experience because you can have 5 hamburger bars, 5 sports bars. And so how do you not push people who are here first out of business? And so we got to find a way to, put some kind of rules in place so you don't just have an overpopulation of one type of restaurant. And that could change over the next 4 years because, right now we don't have a lot of people living here, but in 5 years, it could be almost 2,000 people. So you can go back and look at that and say, okay, we can expand those numbers based on types of restaurant. But I say initially, we want to keep it tight.
And I'd just like to add or to clarify too, with the revocation clauses, some of the things that Skylar, that you mentioned in regards to permits and things of that nature, that revocation clause will also making sure that those that hold that liquor license adhere to the ordinances that the city currently have in regards that they have to be in compliance with those as well.
Yes, I think that was our intention, Ms. Tillman, to make sure that, that they're being good community members. And again, it is a privilege to have one. To really receive one of these is a privilege, such as they're non-transferable. We've had people try to transfer them. And it's just like, no, you can't do that. You can't transfer them. They're geographic bound, and they're also bound to like that LLC. If that LLC changes to a corporation, you got to let us. You got to technically let us know, because we have to then change the liquor license changes. It actually goes to that corporation rather than that LLC. It's very different from the ones that are quoted. So, and we've had one of those come before us where they went from an LLC to a corporation, and we're easy. We just grant it again because we've already granted it. It's really no issue. But they let us know they followed the rules, and it was really easy.
And it shows that their business is growing if
And
they have to go that route.
Absolutely. It shows they're doing well. They've been there for years, and we're able to say thank you. Thank you for staying here.
Okay.
I guess 2 more things that also make this somewhat more unique. One is one to address, I guess, the issue that Clarence raised is that we do generally allude to different types of restaurants, different styles, different kinds of, and maybe we just tighten that up a little bit more. The second thing, is when we talk about enforceability is when again, as Skylar mentioned, they go to a location and the corporation. So, and we've had that situation of where a restaurant changed to different locations. And so we had to make sure that we reissued that liquor license. I guess the third thing that makes this unique too is there's an expectation of establishments that, in addition to having a unique place in downtown, a family-oriented restaurant in downtown Michigan City, but that they also are involved in the community. And I think you look at some of our liquor license been out, you see these restaurants involved in various kind of things in the Uptown Arts District. You see them involved in various kinds of youth-oriented types of services. So, those are the things that kind of make it more unique. As for the now wanting to charge an annual fee, again, when you look at what the cost is for a liquor license, if someone had to go open an establishment and wanted to buy their own liquor license, I think the last one someone told me, this was several years ago, but they had to pay $75,000 for that. So this way, so they're still getting a good deal, but in terms of what the increased expectation of community involvement, an ethnicity type of restaurant, a family-owned restaurant, these are the kind of things that go with that. So there is a good trade-off for that, and I think that's why it's been a good program. The other thing is to keep in mind is that the statute, how the commission gets involved, the statute says it's the county or the common council that has to approve the riverfront district and any kind of modifications to it. So the resolution, and so when the council originally did that back in March of 2008, they designated to the Redevelopment Commission to be the administrators of that, of the program. So, and that's what's kind of happened for the past better part of 20 years. So the resolution, whether it needs to be tweaked some more, whether it's one of the things added to that. But the resolution will basically say for the commission, approves of the commission going before the council to make the modifications to the riverfront district, both in terms of boundaries and in terms of rules.
I know in some cities in Indiana that you actually have to submit your menu and any change, you have to come before the commission. That way trying to protect, so you don't have people trying to outdo each other in the same type of business.
So
So
again, our program rules require not only that, but also require a floor plan. That's what I'm saying what happens.
The other goal of this is just really to clean up when I hand out the liquor license application, it's I'm not sure I quite understand it. So what's required of people. So I took the opportunity to kind of redraft that and really get it cleaned up, condense it down, make one comprehensive map where there's not 3 or 4 floating out there that don't make sense to me. I'm going to work with Tony if this changes. Tony's our GIS specialist, to make sure we do a really understandable map that is can be reproduced and understood both in color and black and white. So and I'll work with Tony on doing that. But first of all, we gotta reestablish what we want in and out. And again, that 3,000-foot rule is still in place. And yeah, we did confirm that piece of it still exists. So that's good.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Anything else? I don't want to make sure we forget anything.
Again, I but apologize too. In fact, I realized I didn't get that to you until Saturday. So if there's not been enough time to review it, you want to make certain changes to it before we actually approve it, to actually go forth with making that request to the council, we certainly can do that too. This was merely meant to be, at least from Skylar's and my perspective, this is merely a opening step to get to that ultimate outcome.
Could we send it to council with our could we make our suggested modifications, if you will, and send it to council with those modifications?
Oh, yeah. So like I say, if there are certain things you want me to change in that, I can do that. In which case then you could say that as far as tonight is concerned, is approved passage of the resolution, which again, doesn't do anything more than just, we're going to go to the council and they can approve it or they can reject it and keep it the way it is. So that's out of our hands. But the first step has to be getting it to the council.
May I make a recommendation?
Sure.
I would recommend that the adjustments to the resolution be presented to the council instead of doing it after the fact, because then that's going to pose council to ask those questions. So they will want to see it beforehand before they move to vote on it. Okay.
So Tracy, what?
So, but we can, so if we approve this right now, you'll still be able to do any amendments before it comes to the council? Or it's gonna be as is right now that's coming?
It just depends on what you approve. If you want certain changes to be made in that, then I can make those changes. And in which case you can say, then we can actually put that forward to the council to put on their agenda. If your preference is to get back with me as to specific things that you want modified within the resolution, and then we bring it up again next month for a yay or nay vote to go to the council, we can do that too.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Okay, thank
we
you.
did have a number of changes we talked about tonight, so maybe we should come back and make those changes and send the council one time, and as opposed to having, because you want some changes, I want some changes, and so try to make those recommendations. Let's go to council with one full document.
Right. So just if you can get me the changes that you want to make, and then I'll bring that before this commission next month, at which point then we would approve then going forth to the council on that.
I'm okay with that, and hearing the comments tonight, because some of these aren't comments I didn't consider, especially with Clarence's comment. I think that's a good comment and something to add in there. Yeah, don't want to create a homogeneous downtown food scene.
All pizza.
We don't want all pizza.
Okay. Next on our agenda is the approval of the PSA with Global Engineering.
Yeah. Sorry, Madam President, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So this PSA is with Global Engineering. We had a PSA with Global Engineering previously, but it was kind of open-ended and as needed. With this PSA, I put a not to exceed number of $50,000, and I'll tell you why I need Global to do surveying projects for me. I'm about to take ownership of in the future some new land from the city that we are currently taking care of. And we have land right now that's being requested that, just being very honest, I've never had. We own it from the Redevelopment Commission. We take care of it. It's not really big enough to do something like a Fifth and Pine Street that we're looking at, Fifth and Pine or the station block. It's smaller chunks of land. And I'm getting requests for those smaller chunks of land. I've never gotten requests for them before. So my point in doing this professional services agreement is that I need to get surveys on those land. I don't know. I know what it shows on Beacon that we own, but I need exact dimensions. Are there easements there? Are there utility lines underground? Are there really things like that? Because it's been my experience in the past few months that literally the first question out of the developer's mouth are, do we have survey? And I really need a survey to hand to those developers so that if we do decide to move forward with a project, they know the exact dimensions. They can drop that into their drawing, their digital drawing things that they do, and really do those bulk scale, pull up the, do the things they do to show us what it might look like there. So that's really the goal of this. I set the amount at 50,000 just because I know that there are about 5 or 6 parcels right now that we are looking at, and I think I'm going to come in somewhere around that number for surveys. And if there's additional, let's say, title work to be done, or I need an alta because we actually have a developer in hand, things like that. So.
Also, I have looked at that contract, have made certain changes to it. Shem's in agreement with the changes that were made, and they've now been incorporated in the document that you have before you tonight.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve a new PSA with Global Engineering for general engineering and survey services upon request for a amount of 50,000 not to exceed?
Support.
Second.
All of us in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, we have a
We
next. I was gonna
Save the
say, go
best for
ahead.
last. No.
You want,
We have Assistant Chief Forker with us tonight. Thank you for being very patient, and I apologize for not bumping you to the first of the agenda. Assistant Chief Forker is before us tonight to request for basically a buyout, but it's more than that. I don't really even want to classify it as that. So I'm going to let you explain what we're doing.
Essentially, the police department working with the controller's office and the mayor's office essentially is requesting funds from the redevelopment commission for capital expenditure for police vehicles for this year. Originally going into the budget planning for 2025, the thought process was to buy out current leases that we currently hold. In searching that, or I would say looking into the paperwork on that and getting the quotes for the buyouts, and searching new vehicles, I think we're probably going to be better off buying new old stock, I would say. There's still essentially the lease buyout that we're looking at buying out are 2023 Dodge Chargers, in which we had a 2-year lease agreement with LaPorte Chrysler. There's still some new old stock on the market for 2023 Dodge Chargers V6s that we currently have, in which we can buy brand new for essentially about the same price. We're still, in the process of obtaining some quotes from the dealerships, but a preliminary, I would say, research has shown that essentially we could buy a brand new car. I would say new old stock, right? A 2023 Dodge Charger for the same price that we could buy out our lease vehicles currently at. So I believe it's probably in our best interest to look to buy new. We save 15,000 to 20,000 miles. new warranties or whatnot. So essentially, we're looking, for, do you want the amount or no?
Yeah.
$330,000, to work for our fleet rotation. That ultimately is looking to buy us about 9 vehicles, to be fully equipped, I would say 2023 V6 Dodge Chargers.
Assistant Chief Cooney, well, you guys would outfit them themselves. This is just the purchase of the vehicle. And then would you trade in your old vehicles or keep them?
Well, essentially,
Curiosity.
right, so a majority of these is a lease agreement, right? So essentially we have to turn them in.
So they will be turned in. Gotcha.
Correct, yeah, they would be turned in. Obviously the police equipment that is in those vehicles, is transferable to
Excellent.
essentially the same
That's
make, model, year, right?
You hit
So-
you answered the question I was actually getting at. I will say that current state laws changed in the last session. We are able to do this. I think the theory is that as we do well in development and as the city grows, that then services and levels of service with respect to our essential services grow or demand grows upon them. So this is a eligible cost. Hopefully
Just
I
have
said
a
that.
quick question for you. Procedurally, this is more because we've never done this before. But procedurally, what happens now? Let's say the commission approves this request tonight. So then where do you go from there? And then how does the money actually get paid? And how does it get from point A to point B?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, next in line, we would obviously, seek quotations from, obviously, dealers, or essentially open that up for bid with the Board of Works.
Board of Works.
Right, for dealerships to submit bids. I think there's some special purchasing agreements that are possible as well. I know in the past we've, special government discounts, right, can be awarded to government discounts can be awarded a special purchase.
Yeah.
So again, if they're offering a substantial government discount, we essentially go through the Board of Works, right?
So
those-
you get your quotes,
Mhm.
you take.
Get
that
the
before
quotes,
Board of
present it
Public
to the
Works,
Board of Works, and then they would ultimately
They would approve it.
approve the
Right,
purchase.
and then the actual claim would come back to us then.
You are correct. Yes. And Chief Cooney is right. Chief Cooney, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, sorry. Chief Worker's right. There's special caveats for special purchases, and there's special procedures to allow us to act quickly upon special purchases when we get better deals than we other.
And obviously, as we progress, I mean, they're on the lots, right, as of today, right? There's vehicles that are available for purchase today. And obviously, as the year goes on, those things are going to disappear, so.
And we don't have to wait.
Right.
That's the other, yeah.
Correct.
Decent part of this. Okay. Any other comments before we?
I do have one question for you. Assistant Chief Cooney? No, Porker, my apologies.
Okay.
If this is approved and with all the other different caveats that may become available, so this would be up to this amount that you're requesting of 330,000,
Correct.
because we don't have quotes yet.
Correct. Yeah, that would be the maximum amount.
I'm just curious. I'm just going to throw this out. Have you consulted with any other government entities for the county? For example, is it possible to look into or to speak with the prosecutor in regards to fundings that may be available from pretrial diversion?
Yeah, I mean, I know that we've worked with the prosecutor's office before on, I would say, several smaller purchases. I would say nothing in the matter of this amount. I mean, we can absolutely reach out to the prosecutor's office regarding this. I know generally he likes to equally distribute funds, across all agencies in LaPorte County. Again, I have not reached out to him regarding vehicle purchases, but.
And not necessarily this full amount, but
A partial.
a partial of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, we have not, I would say ever, again, as in redevelopment, we haven't used this avenue before, right? So this is, I think, new.
It's new per state statute.
Correct,
now.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay.
Any more questions for Citizen Chief Worker? Okay.
Go ahead and.
Thank you.
For a motion.
Your pleasure.
Okay. Do I have a motion on the floor to approve $330,000 not to exceed budget for the city police department from our funding source for the purchase of new vehicles?
I'd like to make a motion, requested by the Michigan City Police Department regarding vehicles, up to not to exceed $330,000 for 2025 vehicle purchases.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay,
Thank you, Assistant Chief.
thank you. And next on our agenda, a SOLA update.
Okay, so right now, we are in the process of reviewing the most recent submission of financials. I'm sorry, the financial stack for SOLA, which includes sources and uses of funds. We received that Friday. We're in the process of reviewing that. Mr. Randolph Rampola and Andy Mauser are doing that as of right now. We hope to hear something back as of maybe Wednesday or Thursday. But we also have a standing meeting every Friday where we do updates. We meet Friday at 8 o'clock early, sharp in the morning. And we're trying to get this knocked out. That's really my update right now. We have also prepared documents to move our properties into the care of two corporations. Once at a time of execution by the Economic Development Corporation. So everything is, I guess, teed up, if you will, for the dominoes to kind of fall. We're just waiting for an opinion from our council and our economic development, our financial analysts to concur and support what's been submitted to us.
And the reason for this isn't just as easy as going forth with this. You know, we could have done it last week, 2 weeks ago, something like that. There's a time frame from the time when you first give notice to the council that you want to create an EID, that whole process needs to be completed at 120 days, I think. isn't it?
It basically kicks in motion a 120-day process that if you fall outside that, you have 120 days to get everything put in place.
Right.
That's essentially it. It's kind of like a bond. I think bonds, they're 90 days. You know, we have these. Once we put it in motion, we can't stop it.
Or it dies.
Or it dies. That's it.
Why
It
we're waiting
dies.
to the very end. And once we have everything from bond counsel and financial advisors, then we can start the clock running and go from there.
Correct.
But we're not there yet.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm sorry. That's all I really have, unless there's any other questions right now. So,
Well, I guess
Oh,
let
yeah,
me explain
yeah.
what's an EID, because you used the word.
so an EID is an economic improvement district. This would be typically an EID is a tool that's used. It's a state enabling legislation tool that allows basically property owners within a designated district to basically essentially tax themselves for improvements that are then used within that district. They have their own board. They set up their own board, meaning the EID itself in that geographic boundary is made up of property owners, people they appoint to the board. I think it's a 5-member board. And they basically tax themselves and collect revenue on top of the city tax, essentially. This would be set up in the manner of a vertical EID rather than a horizontal EID, which is typically the way you see them. This would be vertical. So that's it's a unique way to do an economic improvement district.
Anything else on that topic? No?
No.
Okay. Okay. I accidentally forgot that we had an addendum to our agenda. Right now, we're going to talk about Resolution 3-25, acceptance of real property at 301 East Barker Avenue.
Would you like for me to start setting the record?
Sure.
Or how would you like for to do that?
Yeah, go ahead.
You may recall that I'm gonna let you start off.
This was a request made of the commission through the Board of Public Works as it related to property or an old church, the Fountain of Life International Bible Church, also known as the Kingdom Harvest House of Praise at 301 Barker Avenue. And how it came to the Board of Public Works is that it was falling apart. Roof was caving in and it got to the point of where it had to be demolished for a public safety viewpoint. So now you've got that variable. You've got another variable that says that the redevelopment commission can only expend money on improving property, whether it be the property itself or a structure on that property, or in this case, a demolition of a structure on a property, if the property is owned by the redevelopment commission. 301 Barker Avenue is not owned by the redevelopment commission as of this minute. One more variable to throw in here is that 301 Barker Avenue is 1 block outside the boundaries for what was previously known as the North TIF. So how do we get to that point of where we can merge these three interests together and actually, I guess there's one other factor too. Budgetarily, the Board of Public Works, I think Skylar told me, had like $60,000 for demolition. To spend for all of fiscal year 2025, and the cost of demolishing this is somewhere just short of 160,000. So how do we get to the point of responding to a community crisis, community emergency, clearly a public nuisance or an attractive nuisance? And so what I have done is draft a resolution that allows us to do that. The first thing you need to do if you're going to approve that is we need to accept conveyance of this parcel from the Fountain of Life International Bible Church being conveyed to the Redevelopment Commission, which they have already said they want to do and that they will do. So the first part of the resolution is you accept this conveyance. The second thing is we need to make public findings for the record as to why we should get this property that's 1 block outside the TIF district and incorporate that as opposed to just letting it go through the normal process if this were a city situation. And the answer to that question is because the laws as they relate to the statutes as they relate to redevelopment commissions certainly make it much more easier and with greater flexibility for the redevelopment commission to dispose of the property once they've had ownership, once they've gotten to the point of where it becomes desirable for a developer or whomever, and then we go from there, as opposed to where the council would end up having to put a lien on the property. And then that would certainly discourage anything from happening. Furthermore, there's nothing that says a person, an entity, could just come in here and buy this property and then sit on it for 20 and 30 years and not do anything with it. So if you approve this resolution, what you're doing is 1, accepting conveyance of this property, 2, authorizing specific money for the demolition of the property, which I understand has already occurred. And that's okay. You know, if you don't approve this, then that demolition cost will end up being taken by the city. There'll be an additional appropriation, and they'll have to cover the cost of that, as well as probably cease all demolition activity for the rest of the year, except on an emergency basis. And then you're conveying ownership of the property to the city, and then who knows what happens to it after that. So this will allow. So then the final aspect of this is for the redevelopment commission to accept conveyance for the purpose of developing it, cleaning up doing the demolition, cleaning up afterwards, fixing it, and then marketing them for future development. And that's what that does. Now, if you're inclined to do that, we also need to establish a record for why we're doing that as to how this is beneficial to the TIF. And if you want to stop and ask questions at that point, that's fine. Otherwise, Skylar and I have this dog and pony show that we can establish the final or the basis on which to do that.
I'd also like to add too, that this is, at the corner of, is it Barker and York?
Like so, yeah.
Yep, and nearby school and, things like that. So,
Yep.
I mean, it's a viable piece of property.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it'd be very helpful, for that area. You guys want to go ahead with the additional
So
or?
Skylar, how does this benefit the TIF to acquire this property, even though it's not in the TIF?
Well, it's one block outside of the TIF, and I think our TIF is at Lafayette is the edge. This is at York, which is literally 327 feet away. I would also say that our goal with expanding our TIF into the Midtown area was that our Midtown area would see a benefit of development, and this building literally lost half of its wall a few weeks ago, and basically is detracting from investment in the area. I would also say that the church was built in 1902. It hasn't been on the tax rolls since then, and rather than seeing it go to tax sale or to a commissioner's sale or whatever, the best option is, if we're going to pay for this, that it comes into the coffers of the Redevelopment Commission to A, take care of it, make sure that it gets mowed, cleaned, etc., and then B, get it back onto a tax producing roll.
And are there plans for development, at least at this point conceptually?
Potentially, because it is zoned R1D, which lends itself to residential, but it also lends itself to duplex residential, things of that nature. It has a little bit of flexibility in the zoning of it. And potentially in the future, as we develop the transit development district, you're gonna need other things there, corner stores, etc. Kind of the more traditional neighborhood development approach, what we call TND. So,
And just to be clear, there is no cost to the commission to acquire this,
no.
and that it is better from the city's viewpoint to have a potentially valuable piece of property in close proximity to the TIF that the commission can control as it relates to the kind of development that goes there.
Yes, and I think the type of development and the speed of development that goes there. Yeah.
And with that, if it's in your inclination to approve this and accept this, then you can approve the resolution, and then the property will be acquired and will be recorded in our name, in the commission's name, and we proceed as we've talked about now, and somebody, I guess, will submit a claim for the roughly $160,000
Yeah.
for the demolition costs, and that'll be on the claims docket, I guess, for next week or next month or two.
I would just add too that this was a Green Demolition that did this. They're very, very good demolition contractors, do lots of work throughout the region. Typically, when we take a piece of property, we like to do phase ones, phase twos. This one was actually demolished in a manner. The manner that it was demolished, because it could not do testing in it. Basically, they took out everything. They basically took everything from the bottom of the basement to the top. So it's all gone, and then it's backfilled. All the backfill is clean. It's guaranteed clean. It's been a church since 1902, but previous to that, it was platted. All that platted ground down there was farmland. I've went and did Sanborn research, and didn't see any. There's not a foundry there. There wasn't a convenience store. There wasn't a gas station there. I mean, it's been a church since 1902. It's been residential around it. I think I'm fairly positive that phase one would come back with no findings on it, especially now that the building's completely removed and backfilled with clean. We don't just demolish and push it in on itself or leave the basement. We pull everything out. And Sue will go over and do a final walk on, I guess, or walk through. And then it will be seeded as soon as we can get out there and seed it. I'm sure we're just waiting on weather to get appropriate to seed. Yes, there is a cost of demolition, and I think it was kind of fluctuating between the 158 and 160, but I can get the final cost. Yeah, I think it was awarded
For
at
the purpose of
160.
resolution, we'll just say the demolition cost not to exceed 160,000. What a good pay.
Yeah, if something changes, I'll have to come back.
Let's just say no greater than 165,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
just have one question. since that was a historic church from 1902, was there anything salvageable, historic that would be preserved?
We did keep the cornerstone, which said Scandinavian, I want to say Scandinavian Bible Church, if I'm not mistaken. It was there. You probably didn't notice it too often, but if you walked by the church, it was there. We pulled it and made sure that we are going to store it. We had Green Demo pull it for us. I thought it was going to be a big block, but it's actually a small block. I thought it was like a big chunk of stone, but it actually was just a kind of like a veneer, if you will. So we pulled that. We have a space where we keep things like that, essential services, behind a gate, locked, if you will. And hopefully in the future we'd be able to see if we can't put it back there. I don't know what the future holds. Could it go back as could it be incorporated into a new development there or whatever? But we did keep that piece. That was kind of one of the things I picked out to make sure that we pulled out. So I didn't really keep anything else because it was wooden and pretty bad. The brick was very old, and there just wasn't a lot to do there. I know a lot of people wanted bricks, but it's unfortunate that we just at the time, once we award it, we really don't have access to it. They basically take ownership of the improvement at that time, the demolition contractor.
And that is standard protocol, by the way.
Yes. Yes.
So it has to do with safety.
Yep.
I would like to see if we can get a motion to approve the Michigan City Redevelopment Commission Resolution 3-25, approving the acceptance of the real property conveyed by the Fountain of Life Church to Michigan City Redevelopment Commission. And that would also include the financial component of not to exceed $165,000 for demolition costs.
So moved.
Support.
All of us in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, sorry about that, folks. Our next item on the agenda is a presentation on the 11th Street Station Garage and the residential tower.
I don't know if I have a presentation, but I will tell you some updates. That we are shooting to have the garage open, I do believe, in May. I'm sorry, the garage component. Not the residential tower. The garage, I want to be very specific. The garage component will be scheduled to be open in May. And then I do believe the actual transit station, which is, if you've driven by, has the historic facade put back on it, will be open in end of May, 1st of June. That's kind of my update right now. At that point in time, once we get that open and functioning, you will probably see a major shift to the 12-story tower, especially since the weather's breaking. It's just that they've kind of had all hands on deck on the station to try to get that thing up and running and functional, and within our FTA, Federal Transit Authority timeframe, and within the NICD timeframe as well. We've really been trying to focus on that. So that's it. That's all I have.
Wonderful. Okay. Our next agenda item is report from our legal counsel. Alan?
Two real quickly. One is that there was an executive session prior to this meeting. No items discussed that were not permitted by the open door law, and no decisions were made. The second is a project that the commission started. Commissioner Hendricks was one big push. So however long he was on it is when we first really started getting started. And that's the South TIF connectivity project. The goal of which has been, one, in terms of enhancement, but two, is to remove the traffic, both for safety issues, but to remove the traffic from Franklin Street and moving it more on Town Center Drive and creating things off of that. That's kind of gotten bogged down with some of the other projects we've been working on, but we did have a meeting with the owner of that property, owner of properties that are down there in the South TIF. And we've gotten to the point of where, at least within discussion purposes, not that there would be anything concrete on this, but if we're going to go any further with this, we need to do appraisals, at least 2 appraisals on some South TIF properties as related to the South TIF connectivity project. So Statute requires that the commission approve those before we go forth in getting those. And then the other part of that is, depending upon what we do with that. If we do nothing with it, they stay confidential. If we do end up acquiring property, they become a matter of public record. That's where we are at this point, is authorization to proceed with appraisals of property down on South Tiff. At least 2 appraisals on at least 1 parcel, maybe more.
Tracy, I see a look on your question.
My apologies. I, more of a question or a comment, but I wouldn't recommend to be in favor of doing any South Tiff's appraisals at this time.
Okay.
It's not in the best interest to do that right now.
Or just from a timing issue is what you're saying, or just the overall project itself?
The overall.
Overall project, okay, all right.
I would agree.
Okay, thank you. And that's all I have then.
Okay, our next item,
Is it me?
it's you,
Okay.
director's report.
Yes, director's report. Sorry, it's been a very long day. I just really appreciate everybody having a discussion about the liquor license boundaries and things of that nature. It's been something I've been wanting to do for a long time and really have that discussion. And honestly, just we've seen just profound changes in our downtown, especially with the investment that's happening at the train station and other investments, just being honest, even potential investments. And I just think it's time to make sure that we have all our tools sharpened and make sure that we're able to provide incentives and benefits to really attract quality development into our downtown. And this is just another kind of tool in our shed, if you will. So that's how I kind of look at it. So I really appreciate the candor and the comments tonight. So I don't really have anything else to add unless you have questions of me. Any questions? Hopefully we did everything tonight. Did I get everything? Okay. All right. And I'm done. Thank you.
Commissioners?
I just want to hand out the annual report to the rest of the commissioners. I'm presenting this tomorrow night at City Council. But we've had a great year, 2024. Did a lot in the neighborhoods, did a lot of work in commercial property. And page 16 kind of highlights the year's accomplishment. $113 million in capital investment. This is our 3rd year in a row we have actually peaked over $100 million worth of investment. So for a small city, I think we're punching above our weight class. So doing over $100 million every year in capital investment. City is moving forward, but take it home. I guess it's good night reading. A lot of pictures, commentaries, and stats on what's happening in the city right now. So lots of momentum, energy, and getting a lot of requests for development across the board: commercial, industrial, retail, housing. So city is really moving forward in a lot of ways, but we're also trying to make sure our neighborhoods are being rebuilt. And we had last year our first neighborhood class. We had 30 graduates last year. This week we have another 30 starting the 2nd class, 8 weeks of class. So cities, we're trying to make sure people are not being left behind and make sure they're getting involved in what's happening across the city. So really, really exciting times for the city. So thank you for the opportunity to work with you guys.
Thank you, Clarence. And kind of go along with what you said, it's just amazing, like in my daily business, the amount of people that I talk to in a day that are excited about Michigan City. I was today just talking to one of our vendors who's a nationwide vendor, Train air handlers, and he's like, I'm going to be up in your area and I'm really excited. And he was naming off places that he loves to come to up here. And it's all things like Burnham, and yeah, so it was really exciting to see someone also, that's not from our community that's excited about our community. So thank you very much for all the hard work that everyone on the commission does. And then just want to remind everyone, our next meeting will be May 12th, which is the 2nd Monday of the month. And with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I think we're all in favor.